Hey there, so I'm going to do a short presentation on how Thoughtexchange can help you. So here we go. So you've gathered a great team with lots of intelligence, lots and lots of brain power, right? And yet you feel maybe they're not functioning as fast as they could. They're not working as smart or working as easily as they could, right? You could also have noticed the team is not always on the same page. They're going different directions. You might also notice there are breakdowns and gaps in how the team functions. So we at Thoughtexchange help you with that. And what's so important in these days of change, it's imperative that you access the full potential of teams. And change, in fact, reveals weaknesses and gaps in teams, okay? So as we've all seen from the COVID experience, it just massive weaknesses and gaps are displayed. So the problem typically is there's an underusage of collective intelligence within corporations, within organizations. And that's what we do. We help you optimize the use of collective intelligence. So literally you may have a gap between where you are and your potential, and it's often to do with collective intelligence, okay? So we optimize the use of your team to close that gap. So really, what is collective intelligence? It's actually just many brains working together for greater good, but it's systematic and it's structured and it's fast, it's intuitive, and it works super well, okay? So how do you know if you're optimizing collective intelligence? So this is what we do. We ask, when we're working with clients, we ask, for instance, as an example here, about work priorities. So we'll ask somebody, do you know what your whole team thinks is the highest priority? We often ask, do you know what your whole team thinks is the biggest problem? Another question we'll ask is, have you asked them? And often the answer to those three is no, right? And so often what we've then come back to is, can you gather and summarize this information from 1,000 people, say you have 1,000 employees or an organization with 1,000 people in it? Can you do that in 30 minutes? Because that's what collective intelligence does when it's optimized, okay? So really your gap could be that you're not accessing full in collective intelligence. So I'm going to give you 3 examples. First one is from COVID, and we were approached by hundreds of educational institutions at the time of COVID, because what had happened is that when COVID landed in educational institutions, there was chaos, there was frustration, there was an increase in distrust, and there was mental health issues. And so we came in and we helped them optimize their collective intelligence. And so after optimizing that intelligence, what we discovered is that it led to a rapid agreement on new initiatives. There was an increased ability to respond. There was increased understanding across the organization of where everybody was at. And there was practical initiatives that came up to address issues like mental health, okay? And so second example I want to talk about is educational organizations and taxpayers' money. So this is one we've been doing for a number of years. And so typically when an organization has an idea for a vision for the future, they need the money to create it, right? Meanwhile, though, the public, and in this case, let's say 1 million people, 30 regions, this is some of the work we've done, typically at first glance, they are not supportive, right? They'll be disengaged, they won't see any value to it, et cetera, et cetera. So literally what we have to do is we have to access the collective intelligence of the whole community, right? And when you do that, what happened is it can very rapidly shift from a strong no to a strong yes. And when that happens, literally there's massive public support for this increased spending. And literally now there's been hundreds of millions of dollars in bonds that have passed through accessing collective intelligence. And the time typically is 6 months, and the cost is about $50,000 per region. So it's low cost, low time, big reward. So how does this happen? Really, we have rapid dynamic group interactions. We have everybody questioning the important group issues. And through that process, potentials are discovered and then embraced, right? And ultimately what it boils down to is that the public see the problem and the solutions through a new lens and are able to buy into the new lens. Okay, example 3, this is NetSuite and solving the gap in collective intelligence there. So we were asked to come in and increase the potential of the sales teams, right? And so the question we came up with is how to create a better culture to thrive and succeed. And when that was asked of everybody, actually a very simple answer emerged, which was bring back the opportunity to meet in person more. Actually quite simple, right? And the leadership saw that and said, absolutely, let's do it immediately. Right? So why had there been a failure? Why was this not happening? Really, collective intelligence had not been tapped into. So naturally, the leaders could only see some of the options. They couldn't see all the options. But when we tap into collective intelligence, immediately all the options appeared, they were sorted out rapidly, and the clarity emerged. So it's such a simple thing, but so profound. Literally, it took 30 minutes to do, and the whole team identified the problem, the solution was obvious, right? So these are 3 examples of how collective intelligence can help your organization. And so where do you think you can benefit from collective intelligence in your organization? Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And that's what we do at Thoughtexchange. We help you discover how to access more collective intelligence in your organization. I'm going to stop the recording.